has been a year since Russia fully invaded Ukraine, and within those 12 months, thousands of lives have been lost. Cities in Ukraine have been destroyed, and infrastructure has been damaged. Let us look at a couple of weeks before February 24, 2022, the day Russia invaded Ukraine. We will find that leaders worldwide, specifically from the West, have made many diplomatic attempts with Russia to prevent a war against Ukraine. And the Western countries threatened Russia with harsh sanctions if they invaded Ukraine. However, all the Western diplomacy and sanction threats failed to stop Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, from ordering the invasion of Ukraine. So, on February 21st, 2022, 3 days before the full-scale invasion of Russia, during a ceremony, Putin signed an order acknowledging two Ukraine regions of Donetsk and Luhansk as sovereign and independent areas belonging to the separatist group. And as a result, Putin sent troops to those regions at the request of the separatist group. Then, in the early morning of February 24, 2022, Russian forces from across the border of Ukraine launched missiles attacking airports and cities. Putin referred to the invasion as a special military operation. Because of the invasion, the US, European Union, and other European countries started to impose harsh economic sanctions. So, in this video, I will explore what those sanctions are, how they are affecting Russia now, and how they will affect the Russian economy in the long run. And we will also see if sanctions work at all. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Yonas Temnewa, and if you are enjoying the video so far, please subscribe to my channel for more exciting videos. And let us get started. First, let us see, what does sanction mean? In other words, what does it mean when a country is being sanctioned? Sanctions are a type of non-military force where state uses power to attempt and alter another state's behavior. Sanctions could be economic, political, diplomatic, or cultural. They can be forced unilaterally or multilaterally in a country. So, the sanctions' main goal is to persuade a state to reconsider its actions. In the case of Russia, sanctions are imposed by Western countries to weaken the Russian economy and force it to end its war in Ukraine. So the US and the European Union imposed sanctions on Russia right after Putin sent troops into the separatist regions of the DNR and LNR in Ukraine. That was on February 21st, 2022. The US stopped new investment in the two regions of Ukraine. Next, on the same day, February 21st, 2022, the European Union imposed travel restrictions and asset freezes on 5 new people who are members of a state in Russia. Those sanctions from the US and European Union are an extension of existing sanctions against Russia for the annexation of Crimea and other violations of international laws by Russia. Then, on February 22nd, 2022, the US toughened its sanctions on Russia by targeting two major Russian state-owned financial institutions, the VEB and PSB, and also 42 of their subsidiaries. Additionally, the US Treasury has imposed sanctions on 5 oligarchs with ties to the Kremlin. The two financial institutions are essential to Russia's economy. VEB is crucial in generating funds in Russia, while PSB is crucial to the country's defense industry. VEB is big enough to rank among Russia's top 5 financial organizations thanks to its $53 billion asset portfolio. With a loan portfolio of over $20 billion, VEB is uniquely positioned in the Russian financial system as the company that manages the country's sovereign debt. finances exports, and provides funding for investment projects. And on the other hand, PSB is Russia's eighth biggest financial institution and a critically significant Russian state-owned financial institution. PSB has provided billions of dollars in financial assistance to Russian defense companies and presently services nearly 70% of government contracts. So, the imposed sanctions mean that VEB and PSB are prevented from conducting businesses in the United States and are shut off from the American financial system. Then, if we are to ask about the consequences of sanctions imposed on those Russian financial institutions since last year, or in other words, how have they been affected after 1 year of sanctions from the US and its allies? According to the US Department of State website, the sanctions have blocked about $300 billion in assets held by the Russian Central Bank, limiting Russian capacity to support the war effort in Ukraine. Furthermore, on February 22nd, 2022, in reaction to Putin's order, the UK also blocked the assets of 5 Russian banks, prohibited travel, immobilized the funds of 3 Russian oligarchs, and imposed sanctions on Russian politicians who supported the recognition of the independence of the Ukrainian regions. Moreover, the same day, Germany also halted Nord Stream 2, a vital Russian natural gas pipeline from Russia to Germany. It was anticipated that the project would cost $11 billion to complete. Additionally, 1 day before the Russian invasion on February 23rd, 2022, more economic travel bans and asset freeze sanctions on Russia started to follow from European Union, Australia, and Japan. Then, on February 24, 2022, the day Russia started firing missiles into Ukraine, the US followed with more harsh sanctions on Russia, attacking the most significant financial sectors, more asset freezes, and blocking public trading stocks from the US market. In addition, the US imposed strict sanctions on Russia for importing advanced technologies such as computers, telecommunications, lasers, sensors, and semiconductor chips. The export control rule restricts Russia from having access to those sophisticated technologies that Russia needs to modernize and even sustain its military power. Over the coming months after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the US and its Western allies continued to impose sanctions on Russia. The G7 and EU also joined together to limit the price of Russian oil to $60 per barrel. So, to answer the question about the impact of 1 year sanctions imposed on Russia from the US and its allies, first we see that the Russian ruble fell by close to 10% in 2022. The inflation rate reached nearly 13%. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund estimated that the Russian gross domestic product GDP declined by 2.2% in the best situation and by 3.9 in the worst. At the same time, the Russian Central Bank estimated the economic decline at 2.5 in 2022. Furthermore, the economic sanctions imposed on Russia have also weakened the Russian capacity to rebuild its estimated 9,000 pieces of military equipment that have been destroyed since the start of the war. Moreover, it's asserted that Russia has suffered losses of 50% of its tanks. So, to make up for some of the damages caused by financial sanctions, Russia has been forced to turn to its less developed allies like Iran and North Korea for equipment and materials to supply its war campaign in Ukraine. So, as we can see, the financial penalties imposed on Russia from Western countries are working because it has damaged the Russian military capacity to build new weapons or even replace the ones lost since the start of the war. And in the long run, if the sanctions continue against Russia, the Russian economy will be destroyed. But as for now, the reality is that Russia is far from being brought to its knees by the Western sanctions, and it seems far from ending its war campaign in Ukraine. Thank you guys for watching my video, and please remember to subscribe to my channel, like and share the video. Thank you.